This should have made the cover of every major magazine and newspaper. This should have been on CNN headline news. And this is how you and I may create change in this world very quickly. Over 100 years ago, modern science conducted an experiment. And based on the interpretation of this experiment, the Michelson-Morley experiment, the belief has been that there is nothing in the empty space, that everything is separate from everything else, that what happens in one place has no effect on what happens somewhere else. For over 100 years, our science has been based in a belief that is incorrect. 100 years later, 1986, the United States Air Force repeated that experiment. They published the results in the very prestigious journal Nature, the scientific journal Nature. What they found was this. They found that the field is actually there. They said, the field is there. And not only is the field there, it measured precisely the way that Michelson and Morley had predicted 100 years earlier. They just didn't have the equipment to work this out. But this changes everything for the scientists, because the textbooks all say the field is not there. Entire careers are based on the field not being there. And now the field is there. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, built a satellite and launched it into deep space for the purpose of measuring fields that we cannot see with our eyes. It's called the Chandra Observatory. Recently, the Chandra Observatory sent back information that has now been modeled on the computers, and it tells us that what we used to believe was empty space is not empty. And this is what it looks like. The bright spot that you see in the center, that is the center of our universe. And we are out here somewhere. These are the patterns of energy that cannot be seen by the naked eye, but that the sensors have picked up in deep space, showing that there are filaments of energy that connect everything. There is no empty space. These are the filaments of the energy in your brain. These are the neural networks of the human brain. It looks very similar to the filaments of the matrix in the universe. Look at this. These are the neurons in the human brain. Here are the filaments of the empty space from deep space. And it brings to mind, as above, so below. They are very, very similar. And the question now that scientists are asking is, do we communicate with these fields of energy through these fields of energy? We know it does more than simply connect everything. It is the container for the entire universe. The divine matrix is the container that holds our entire universe, number one. Number two is a bridge between your inner world and your outer world. This is the reason why your thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, prayers in here have an effect on the world beyond your body. And number three, it is a mirror. This field reflects in the world around us what we create in the world inside of us. So, to unleash the power, to unleash the force of this divine matrix in our lives, first we have to understand how it works. Secondly, we must learn to speak the language. We must learn to speak the emotions that this field uses, and that's what this day is all about. Where we had two particles of light, 2 photons, separated by 14 miles. From here to here, 14 miles. And the question is this: when one photon had an experience, the other one acted like it was having the same experience, even though they are no longer connected. If this photon were forced on the blue path, that photon would always take the blue path. If this photon were forced to rotate in one direction, or its charge was changed, the other photon always had exactly the same experience. And the question is why? How many have heard of a hologram? The principle is the way that nature creates tremendous change very, very quickly. A few years ago, there was a bookmark that was produced all over the world. A shiny little strip of foil that had a picture on the bookmark, and if you would hold the picture in the light, the image would come alive. It's called the hologram. You can do an experiment. If you have one of those bookmarks, you can do an experiment. You can take a pair of scissors and you can cut your holographic bookmark into many, many pieces. And you can take the smallest piece, tiny, tiny piece, under a microscope with a very sharp blade and cut that piece in half one more time. And you can take that little fleck, that little speck of the bookmark, and under magnification you will look, and the entire image will be in that piece. The entire image will be there because it is a hologram. The definition of a hologram is that every fragment of the pattern reflects, mirrors, contains the entire pattern. Every fragment, no matter how small, is a reflection of the entire pattern. This is important because it's said that you and I are holographic in the universe, that within us, the entire universe lives within us. And within every cell of your body. The entire universe lives within every cell of your body. So here's an example. If this is the whole universe, right here, the entire universe, and we cut it in half. And now we take this and we cut it in half again. So now the universe is in 4 fragments. Because this is a hologram, every fragment contains the entire image. What happens if we make a change in one place in the hologram? If every fragment mirrors all of the other fragments, if you make a change in one place, where do you see the change? Everywhere. Precisely. And this is how you and I may create change in this world very quickly. If we understand the language, because we are holographic. We are patterns of this world, of the universe. When we choose peace in our hearts with the language that this matrix recognizes, peace must happen. When we choose healing in our bodies, when we choose joy in our lives, when we choose compassion for our friends, when we make that choice with the language of the heart, not the mind, the heart, it must happen. Quantum particles can exist in one place in a moment in time. Quantum particles can exist in 2 places or many places at the same time, and they are always connected. They are always connected with one another. So the particles are always connected. Quantum particles can communicate with themselves in the past and in the future. This is very interesting. Scientists can take a quantum particle, and they know everything there is to know about this particle. They know its rotation, its plus, its minus, its charge, in the present. Now, they can take it into the future, and now, this is the past, this is the future. They can change the particle now, and it changes what it had to be in the past to get to now. They can change the particle in the present, and it changes the particle in the past, even though the past already happened. Very interesting. So the question is, we're made of those particles. So can we do what these particles can do? We're made of quantum particles. Are they showing us our limits, or are they showing us our possibility, our potential? Can we do everything that those particles can do? The answer is yes. But it's based on what we believe to be true. Not what we think in our minds, what we believe in our hearts. And that is a very subtle, very powerful difference. Not the mind, the heart. We're made of those particles. We are held together through a focus, a force. What is the force that holds our quantum particles together as our bodies? Consciousness is what holds these particles together. Consciousness organizes the particles into your body and in this world. 1944, the father of quantum theory, his name was Max Planck. Max Planck made this statement. He said, the stuff of our world does not exist the way we think it exists. Max Planck said, as a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about the atoms this much. There is no matter as such. What he's saying is the stuff that we're made of does not exist the way we believe it exists. He goes on to say that what we